NC State football prepares to hit the road up in South Bend, Indiana this weekend, a 22.5-point underdog. They might need just a little bit more than luck.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Happy Wednesday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton getting geared up for this road game coming up on Saturday, a 3:30 kick in South Bend, Indiana. The NC State Wolfpack will take on the 16th-ranked Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This game is on Peacock, as you'll hear us kind of joke about on our Thursday crossover episode with Tyler Wojak of Locked On Irish. NC State stands at a 4-2 record. Notre Dame, after stumbling out of the gates, they are now back up to a 3-2 record. More than likely are going to have to win out for a chance to get into the CFP. What are your base-level thoughts on how Notre Dame has played up to this point of the year?
Notre Dame, they have whooped the wheels off of teams that are reeling. And that's just the honest to God truth. They have beaten the brakes off of teams that are kind of limping their way into that game. I'm not sure if NC State falls into that category, Grayson. I'm not sure because
we may be intending to find out.
I was just about to say, it feels like, this team is kind of getting right and has gotten back. I think that this is a really good offensive unit. I think that, Carr and company have lit it up offensively, but lit it up offensively against who, right? Like the same thing that people are saying about NC State in terms of, you haven't really beaten anybody. At the moment, NC State's best win is better than Notre Dame's best win. And that's a fact. That's a fact. You can't argue. Hear me out, Grayson. Hear me out. Who is Notre Dame's best win right now?
Well, maybe you do have a point. I'd say probably on the road at Arkansas, but you won that game by 43 points? So how good of a win is it?
But did Arkansas have a head coach at that time?
Not afterward, no.
You see what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. NC State's worst loss is obviously much worse than Notre Dame's worst loss. So I'm not sitting up here saying, NC State is the world beaters and expect them to go in and put money on the money line. Don't lie like that. I got my own wager placed on this thing, and I've never had a pet before. So this is a big deal for me. This is a very, very big deal for me. And Grayson doesn't have any tramp stamps that I know of. So this is a big deal for both of us. But in all seriousness, this is a moment where I'm saying this game is much more winnable than people are giving NC State credit for. This game has the potential to be much closer than people are giving it credit for, including me. This is a game that I have seen Notre Dame play spectacularly. I've seen Notre Dame make Marcel Reed look like prime Matt Stafford. This is a serious, hey, I'm not sure which Notre Dame team we're going to get. And even beyond Texas A&M, the plays that Miami had to make were spectacular, and they made spectacular plays. Absolutely. You don't think that our wide receiving core and quarterback can replicate that? I don't know. The biggest thing, though, is can our defense hold up? Because like I already said, their offense is a unit. Defensively, they have, again, 3 weeks straight, they're rolling. I believe in the last 3 weeks combined, they've allowed less than 20 points. Oh, I'm sorry. No, they allowed 30 against Purdue, 13 against Arkansas, 7 against Boise State. So either way you cut or slice it, I'm looking at a game where I'm saying there's going to be some fireworks here. That I think it'll be fireworks on both sides because I think both teams have fantastic offenses. I think both teams leave something to be desired defensively.
And look, the sentiment amongst the NC State fans is that we have no chance. We're going to get our doors blown off. This game's over before it already began. What I will say on that front is I don't entirely disagree, but at the same time, you got to remember Notre Dame last year, yes, they played the national championship. They lost at home to Northern Illinois. You don't think that NC State can't do what Northern Illinois did. Now, again, different years, different teams, different personnel, but the sentiment remains. No one is completely unbeatable. Like the percentage chance of us winning this game, it's never zero. Now, if you're looking at ESPN, I believe it is 7.7 as opposed to the 92.3 for Notre Dame. However, it's not zero. The unthinkable can happen in this game. It's not impossible. And you got to figure, too, we have talked a lot about the NC State offense. If they show up and they execute on every single thing that they try and do, yes, they can win this game. If CJ Carr, the Notre Dame quarterback, has the worst game of his life, then yes, NC State has a chance. Now, again, Notre Dame does have a lot of firepower. Their defense is obviously way more stout than ours is, but you still got to play the game on the field. You don't play anything on paper. You got to go out on the field and get it done on the grass. So obviously the stakes ahead of us are very high, but this is also a Notre Dame team that has some high stakes of their own. Notre Dame sits at 3-2 on the season, stumbled out of the gate. They were 0-2 to start. Lost to Miami on the road down in Hard Rock Stadium, turned around in week 2 and lost at home to Texas A&M in a shootout 41-40. Week 3, they got their first win against Purdue, 56-30. On the road at Arkansas, 56-13. Jeremiah Love tore it up in that game. And then most recently, last weekend, 28-7 over the Boise State Broncos. So they are at 3-2. And as I was saying, the conversation around Notre Dame is always going to be, can they get into the college football playoff? Obviously, because they're not in a conference, so they don't have that to rely on for an auto bid. They got to work their way in. The remaining schedule is NC State. They got to play USC, that's Southern Cal. On the road at Boston College, they got to play Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. Am I crazy to say that they only have really 2 games left on the schedule they have a chance of losing? That would be us, which is a small chance, and then USC the week after. So Notre Dame knows what they have at hand. They probably got to win out. They probably have to finish 10-2 to get into the CFP, which means they don't have time to play around with teams like us. Let's call a spade here. So interesting storyline, to say the least, for this game on Saturday.
Yeah, there are a ton of interesting storylines, but I'm telling you, I really have a feeling that this game, the more that I watch of this team and the more I think about this game, I'm not saying I'm talking myself into the delusion that we're winning or that this is it, but I don't know where that 20-point spread came from, Grayson. I genuinely do not understand it.
I got a couple ideas.
Here's the thing, Grayson. Here's the thing. I'm not going to deny the facts of what we've seen all season. Not going to sit here and pretend like we've been average defensively. Not going to sit here and pretend like we've been just bad. Our ability to get off the field on third down has been horrendous. Objectively speaking, it has been horrendous. It has been one of the worst in the country. Okay. Now, when I move past that and I say, okay, but who are you playing, right? The Texas A&M team that they allowed to put up 40 points has played 2 other Power 4 teams besides them. They're averaging 22. They're averaging 22 a game against everybody except Notre Dame. Now, of course, when you include UTSA and Utah State, sure, things get a little different there. But I'm talking about teams that are on pace and on par with their budget. And even those teams, Mississippi State's not on pace or on par with their budget, and they were able to do that. I'm just saying, this may be a little, and you could say, oh, well, the Miami team, they held them down pretty well in comparison to who Miami has played and all that, and how Miami has scored or hasn't scored or what they haven't done, have or have not done compared to their opponents. But I want to let you know something about this Miami team, okay? Notre Dame, Miami, they did the thing that we are seeing Miami do in perpetuity this year, which is jump out to a lead by playing balanced offense, maybe even letting the pass set up the run. And then in the fourth quarter, they said, all right, we've got to run the ball now. It is illegal for us to be balanced. We must run the ball at all costs, and you get what you get there. But here's the interesting thing about that Miami team, Grayson. Against Power 4 teams outside of Notre Dame, they're averaging exactly 27 points. The same 27 that they put up on Notre Dame. They scored 26 against Florida, 28 against Florida State. What am I saying by saying this? Their defense is much closer to average than the world beaters that we are accustomed to seeing Notre Dame trot out there. That's just the reality. That's just the reality. One time is a coincidence. If it was Miami was putting up their season average against them, against Power 4 teams, all right, that's a coincidence, and Miami's a good team. 2 times, and you can say, oh, Texas A&M is a great team, and they're number 5 in the nation, all this and all that. Again, statistically, what is it bearing out? What are we getting statistically from these teams? Some of their best or on par with their regular performances against this defense. So I'm not saying that we're going to win this game. I'm not saying we're going to get a ton of stops and we're going to generate more takeovers than we've had all season, because let's be honest, we have been abysmal at generating takeaways. We have 3 all season. 3. Congratulations. If you are listening to the sound of my voice right now, you have recovered as many fumbles as every single defender on NC State's roster combined. Congratulations. Give yourself applause there. But I am saying very seriously, 20 points is egregious, even for that fact. Even for the fact that, hey, you're going to struggle to come up with stops. I'm not sure that they're going to stop NC State 3 to 4 times and then capitalize with touchdowns each and every one of those times. Additionally, I'm not sure about that.
I will agree with you there that this is not the prototypical Notre Dame defense that maybe you've been accustomed to. They're not lights out by any stretch of the imagination. So for the NC State offense, which has been leading the charge up to this point, there is a chance that they can run neck and neck for maybe a couple quarters, maybe a half, maybe 3/4 of this game. We'll have to wait and find out on Saturday. Coming up next, we're going to dive into the details of the Notre Dame offense and defense. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Wednesday sponsor is Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than just simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat out all the details. Mazda brings this very same approach into how they craft each and every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Napa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like players, Mazda sweats out every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Our second Wednesday sponsor is Monarch Money. Most people can't even name all their financial accounts or what they're worth. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why Monarch Money exists. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that helps bring your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is quite literally made for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in just minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart categorization of your spending, finally feeling in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So, don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money, using code LOCKEDONCollege, 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 for 50% off of your first year. Only at monarchmoney.com. Middle portion of our Wednesday show. Now time to dive into the details of what makes Notre Dame Notre Dame. We'll start here on the offense. So already referenced, redshirt freshman quarterback CJ Carr is the guy. Won the starting job pretty late in fall camp. In fact, felt like it was just a week or two before the season kicked off. He has been kind of deemed as like the next big Notre Dame quarterback, like the chosen one, so to speak. And I think something that's held back Notre Dame for years upon years is a quarterback that can really stretch the field with his arm. I'm thinking about guys like the Ian Book and the Tyler Buckners that just haven't been able to get them over the hump. CJ Carr, although he is young, he has every bit of capability that they've ever been looking for. I think when it's all said and done, he might be one of the greats for Notre Dame. But so far this year, he has thrown for 1,200 passing yards, a 67.7% completion percentage, 11 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions. Pretty solid numbers there already. Kenton, what are some of your takeaways on redshirt freshman CJ Carr?
I mean, hey, he's a Michigan man through and through, right? Grandson of the great Lloyd Carr, and played his football up at Saline, Michigan, the high school I know intimately well. Got to win up off them boys on the way to the state championship way back in the day. But anywho, no, seriously, he comes from a good football pedigree And he is, I mean, objectively speaking, he's a fantastic player in terms of as a pocket passer, and has enough mobility to hurt you with his legs if you leave him unattended in that regard as well. So, I mean, he's playing beyond his years. He truly is playing at a high level. He's processing at a high level. And he, even at times, has been good enough to where he's opening up things for the running game. Now, granted, they won't have Jaden Greathouse, one of their leading receivers, leading returning receiver from last year, but this is still a capable passing game. This ain't like the Notre Dames of old where you just stack the box with as many as you can and hope for the best on the outside. They have legitimate threats and weapons on the outside that you have to account for because the quarterback is dealing.
And two of those threats on the outside are wide receivers Jordan Faison and Malachi Fields. Now, Malachi Fields is a familiar name, spent some time at UVA. They have great pass catchers, but the pass catchers are not the primary function of their offense. It is undoubtedly who they have in the backfield. The twin killers of Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. Again, I think that Hollywood and Duke Scott are maybe the best 1-2 punch in the ACC. Love and Price, man, they might be the best 1-2 punch in the country. Jeremiah Love has 444 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. Price, who is RB2, 356 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns. They put on an absolute show. I believe it was about 2 weeks ago against Arkansas. Arkansas did not provide them much resistance in terms of run defense. For the NC State run defense has been kind of the same. These two worry the absolute hell out of me.
I mean, rightfully so. They're a fantastic backfield duo. And again, there is no world, there is no way around, hey, these guys are fantastic. Anybody telling you they're not, they are lying to you. They are telling you something that is not true. Obviously, Notre Dame is the offensive line factory. That is what they're known for. That is what they do. They play very, very good football in the trenches. And even beyond that, again, this is just a team that they want to bludgeon you. They want to be physical with you. That the reason that car has looked so good is because, again, teams have just tried to do the old Notre Dame strategy of throw everything you got at the run, stop the run. Everything we do has to be about the run, and then they figure it out from there. And, you know, let the chips fall where they may, which has worked out at times, right? We saw it with Northern Illinois last year. They're like, hey, we're going to throw everything we got at the run, and we'll be all right. We'll figure it out. We'll hope for the best. The best kind of worked out for them there. But, again, I'm just going to say this. It is possible if you can stop this run game, which is a massive if. It's a massive if you can stop this run game to see, you know, hey, what's CJ Carr truly made of? And for the love of God, please, Coach Elliott, DJ Elliott, if you can hear my voice, please play some man defense. Your DBs can't be that bad. They can't be. They cannot be. With these soft zones that teams know, because we don't disguise much. So with these soft zones where teams know exactly where guys are going to be pre-snap, a high school quarterback could eat off that plate. Make it a little difficult. You know, put the food on the top shelf. You know when you got a cookout and you put the ribs and the chicken and all that, you put that a little bit away from the burgers and the hot dogs, because the kids can get the burgers and the hot dogs, but you don't want them touching those funky ribs. You make them jump for it a little bit. And again, this ain't to say that they don't have fantastic receivers. We know how good Malachi Fields is. That's a big body Benz right there. He's fantastic at the point of the catch. He's a big fella. Looks like a tight end in and out of pads. He really does. But you've got to get in these guys' faces and challenge them. Because if you play off and you allow CJ Carr to hit the underneath stuff all night, it's going to be such a long day. It's going to be such a long day. And the Irish faithful are going to be having a time hitting their best little Irish jig.
It's about as clear as it gets what NC State must do to at least make this game interesting, and that's try to stop the run. And keyword there is try. I think making CJ Carr have to win this game with his arm, maybe you can have an opportunity there to make the game interesting, as I said. But again, it's one thing to say that. It's another thing to do. I can't remember if I've already said this or you will hear this later on Thursday's shows. I worry so much about Jeremiah Love in this game. I think he could have a big enough game to jumpstart a Heisman campaign. I'm serious. I'm that worried about what he might do against a defense that can't tackle and can't get off the field for NC State. I'll leave that there for now. Transitioning now to the Notre Dame defense. Now, something again that we've already kind of noted, it's not the prototypical like brick wall style of Notre Dame defense. They have a lot of very talented players, and I think maybe early on in the season in their 2 losses, they were still trying to find their footing. They've looked much better in the last couple of weeks, but Kenton, what are the prospects of Notre Dame being able to consistently stop NC State's offense?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible. We've seen before that the play calling sometimes just doesn't really add up. We've seen moments where, it looks like CJ is doubting himself and kind of gets the yips and all that. But I'm telling you, if this offense is rolling at their highest clip, if they're taking their shots, if they're saying, hey, we're going to let our athletes be great, and you've got to out-athlete our athletes, I think that you're going to see a game that, it's going to be very high scoring. It's going to be very high scoring because, again, this defense is good. They're not world beaters. These are not the old Notre Dame defenses that we're used to seeing where the offense was 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and then they're dragging out a defense that may not get the same love, but they're every year just bringing out these phenomenal defensive backfields every single year, like clockwork. You see a couple guys on Thorpe Award list. You see a couple guys on all of these defensive back award lists. You see a couple guys that are going to be All-Americans on the back end. I don't think they got that this year. I don't think they have guys that are playing to that Notre Dame standard and level this year, and they definitely have not been that as a unit. Now, with that in mind, NC State has been people's get right in other ways already, right? Duke was a turnover machine until they came to see us. Then all of a sudden, no more turnovers. Turnover problem fixed, everybody. Yay. NC State helped them save the day, I guess. So, it is a situation where you have to take advantage of that, where you have to obviously take those shots and you have to find ways to get Hollywood working in spots here. But honestly and truly, when I say what are their prospects for getting stops against NC State, I think that they can do it. I think they'll find it difficult at times. I think it'll be a much more difficult task than Vegas thinks it'll be.
For the NC State offense on Saturday, do you think they'll have more success through the air or on the ground?
Through the air. Through the air. I think that they have some pretty good pass rushers. Don't get me wrong. I know that our tackles have struggled at times this year. I think that our offensive line will hold up well enough. I think they'll hold up well enough to make it about who's better, their DBs or our receivers. I'll take that deal. Again, I think CJ Bailey is going to end up going band for band with both of those backs. I think it's going to be CJ Bailey saying, hey, y'all watch fake. We got a real Rolly over here with those running backs all night long. The only problem is they got multiple boys with Rollies over there. They got a few too many potentially. But, no, I think that CJ will have success against this defense. I would be shocked to see the opposite. And I'm not joking when I say that. I would be legitimately shocked to see if we could not piss a drop until they put in their second stringers, in terms of what I expect out of CJ in this offense in this one.
Certainly presents an interesting challenge. I don't think it's far-fetched to say at all that this is by far the toughest defense we faced up to this point of the season. A couple key defenders back there in the secondary. Jalen Stroman might be a familiar name for many of you. He was a transfer from Virginia Tech. Adon Schuler also back there as a safety. Very hard-hitting, covers a lot of ground. Leonard Moore, who is a cornerback, is actually the National Defensive Player of the Week. He had 2 picks last week against Boise State. So perhaps CJ Bailey will, in fact, have his work cut out for him. But that's the synopsis overall of both the offense and the defense for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Coming up next, we'll round out our Wednesday show with a Hump Day mailbag. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. And our third Wednesday sponsor is PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun and simple way to add just a little bit more excitement to football. You either pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing yards or a touchdown, and just like that, you're in the game. It's also fun to follow other players in the app. You can follow along with your friends or famous celebrities who are also in the PrizePicks community. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 back in lineups after you play just your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College. for $50 back in lineups after playing just your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Last couple minutes of our Wednesday show. Now time for a hump day mailbag. Here we go. First one comes from Brian with a Y. It says, love Hollywood Smothers. He deserves a lot more attention than he's getting. Highly talented, humble servant leader. He's one of us. Another in a long line under Dave Doran. Got to give him credit. That's the main way he stays connected with the fan base. He gets who we are. Kenton, your thoughts?
Brian with a Y, and the Brian is spelled with an I before the with a Y. It's just hilarious. But more importantly, absolutely. I remember hearing from somebody not too long ago when we first got Hollywood, are you sure that a guy with the nickname Hollywood is the type of guy we want on this team? And fun fact, there was a gentleman who played at my high school that played with Hollywood at Oklahoma. And so I did a little bit of back channeling and found out the type of young man that he is and all that. And, he's a good dude. I'm sorry, not a kid that played at my high school, played under the defensive coordinator for my high school. So put in a couple calls and found out he's a great kid. You know what I mean? And when I heard that, that's what I came on here and told y'all. By all accounts, he's a great dude. He works hard. He wants to play, wants to be great. He wants to do all the things. And so, I see no reason to not love the guy. He is great on the field and great off the field. And so, there's nothing negative to be said about him there.
I know I referenced this yesterday, and maybe with it only being halfway through the season, it's not exactly the best time to say this, but regardless of what happens the rest of the year, whether we win out or lose out or anything in between, sometimes we forget in the middle of the season how year to year some of your favorite players on a roster can be. And so for Hollywood Smothers, I implore the NC State fans, appreciate what you have while he's here, because the two of us, we're inclined to believe that he'll be in the league next year with the type of season that he's currently putting together. So make sure you really appreciate what you're seeing from Hollywood Smothers. I think unequivocally, he's been one of the best players we've seen in the last 20, 25 years, easily. One of the best running backs, absolutely. So, and then lastly, when you sprinkle in the fact that he's a great person on top of everything else, again, just appreciate what you have while you have it. Second one comes from Programma Jamma. They say, Kenton, you know what they're not doing on defense? They're not giving a dog a bone. To me, the sledgehammer means nothing, and it just seems it's different for the sake of being different. Bring the bone back. Give a dog something to chase after.
Here's the thing. I'm one of those people, I really don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a bone. I don't care if it's a sledgehammer. I don't care if it's a dunk. I don't care if it's a chain. I just don't give a damn at this point. We are halfway through the season and have only forced 3 turnovers. 3 turnovers. Congratulations. That's 1 for Grayson, 1 for me, and 1 for you listening to this show. 3 turnovers through 6 football games. Grayson, quick question. How many times did we turn over Campbell?
0.
That's not a hammer or bone worth of difference. A lot of people have gotten on one of my favorite guys, Ronnie Royal, talking about, he gets beat, he gets targeted, da-da-da-da. He's the only non-defensive lineman on this team to have a turnover created all year. We need more guys who, like I said, I'm okay with a guy getting beat if we're going to get beat anyway and we're just going to bleed out slowly. But take a darn risk. Take a chance and have the potential of coming up with a big play, which is what we're not doing as a defense. It's soft coverage. Nobody is securing the tackle and then going for the peanut punch. Guys are just coming in, aiming for the ball before the tackle is secured, which is what we saw against UVA, which allowed their running back to be contacted by 3 players and score. We're not following the basic tenets of takeaways. My defensive backs have to be willing to say, I trust my eyes, I trust my film study, I'm going to go jump it. And I'm okay if something goes wrong here, or I trust the guys behind me. I'm going to try this thing. Since we playing big soft zones anyway, I'm going to try to cut underneath this thing and see how it works. And consistently, we'll rally and tackle. Well, if it's 3rd and 5 and they catch it 4 yards away and you rally, what's the chances that you rally and tackle before he gets 3 feet further, everybody? sometimes you got to risk it to get the biscuit. And it just seems like this defense is not doing it regardless of what you're giving them for creating a turnover.
And I'll tell you something else about turnovers. If you can't force any of those things against Notre Dame on Saturday, I told you they have maybe a 7% chance. That goes down to maybe a 0.15% chance, virtually zero chance. You have got to force mistakes, and that has really plagued the defense up until this point. In addition to tackling, third down defense, getting off of the field, everything else as well. If you can't force mistakes on the defensive side of the ball, it gives teams ample, and I do mean ample, opportunity to find a way to exploit you. And that's what we've seen through 6 games of the season. So whether it's a turnover chain, a bone, a sledgehammer, find a way to get it done on the defensive side of the ball. And last one is NC State basketball related. This comes from NC State alum. They say, thoughts on this lineup for basketball. Trey Holloman, Paul McNeil, Quadir Copeland, Darian Williams, and Van Allen Lubin lockdown are starting 5, with Arsenault coming in as the 6th man. Abel, Deng, and Musa round out a solid top 9 rotation. Kenton, your thoughts on the starting 5 for Will Wade's game?
That looks like a great starting 5. And here's the thing. I've always said, if you're not recruiting like, hey, we're one of the best in the country and we can get everything we want, you have to pick, what are we going to do? What are we going to be good at? What are we going to have? This lineup is balanced enough to overcome the lack of size at some spots, right? So, for example, Van Allen Lubin is not the biggest center. D5 is not the biggest power forward. But where do you make up for that? When you look at Quadir Copeland, he's very rangy for a 3. He plays a lot bigger than what he is. And even beyond that, this lineup, you got some guys that can shoot the blood out of the basketball, okay? When you get Trey rolling, when you get Paul McNeil shooting at nearly 50%, when you get D5 doing what he does, whoo-wee, and the pieces coming off the bench complement this group perfectly. They complement this group perfectly. Whatever you are missing out of this starting lineup or whatever you could use more of, the guys off the bench can give you that. If you say, this is a good group, Trey Holloman is not exactly the greatest at creating his own shot off the dribble. Well, if only you had a young guy coming off the bench who could, there's Matt Abel. This group is pretty good, but Quadir Copeland ain't exactly a marksman from deep. If only you had a guy who could potentially play the 3 that would be able to, there goes that dang guy. Look at him out there knocking them down. This group is good, but you need a little bit more size on this. Wait a minute, Grayson. How tall is that Musa kid again?
I believe he's 6'10", 6'11".
Oh, okay. Look at that. Everything that you don't have in this starting lineup, you can supplement with these bench players. So I'm excited about this lineup. And more importantly, and this is no shade, no disrespect. We are not sitting here looking at the double-edged sword of doom and despair, an undersized team that cannot shoot, which is what we came into last year with. We came into last year with a team where Grace and I were both scratching our heads saying, okay, it's a fact, it's a feature of the current regime that we will never be the biggest team. But where are we going to get our shooting from? And as the season went on deeper and deeper, teams gave us the self-check treatment. Everybody started playing basically a modified version of the pack line defense where they're like, we'll let them have that. If they can make it, they can have it. And we put up tour dates from deep.
If I had to put pen to paper and submit my starting 5 on night 1 of the 2025-2026 season, I believe it would be the 5 that NC State alum has down here. I'd have Holloman at the 1, Paul McNeil at the 2, Quadir Copeland at the 3, Darian Williams 4, and Van Allen Lubin at the 5. But something else I will also add here, I don't think whoever starts for night 1 or the remainder of the season, I don't think it's going to be all that important because the 9 names that you see on the screen, you're going to see a lot of them. So it's not so important who starts, it's who's contributing the most once they're in there. So that includes Matt Abel, that includes Jerry Deng, that includes Musa Sagnia. There's so much talent that Will Wade has accumulated, and again, just 6 months of time, and they're excited about all of these guys. I've already said that Terrence Arsenault, he could be the sixth man of the year in the ACC, like beyond a shadow of a doubt. He is absolutely phenomenal defensively. It also gives you a pop in scoring. There's so many multifaceted skill sets to all your top 9 guys that any of them could be playing at any given time. So I would implore folks to not get fixated on who they think will start or won't start. You're going to see all of these guys play a great deal, and they're all super talented. Cannot wait to see night 1 in just a couple of weeks coming up. That will do it for us here on Wednesday. As always, be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box, mash that subscribe button if you have not already. Notre Dame talk on Wednesday, more of it to come tomorrow on Thursday. We had our crossover episode with Tyler Wojak of Locked On Irish. Great conversation, should provide you just a little bit more insight on what to expect on Saturday's game. We will see you all tomorrow on Thursday and also on Friday as well. So until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.